Welcome to Will and Mark's Healthy Sports Obsession. I'm Will Hubner here with Mark Mashashik. We are two doctors of physical therapy, and we are here to answer your PT questions as well as give our take on current sporting events from a health perspective. As always, send your questions to willandmarkshso@gmail.com, and we will answer them on the show. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Will and Mark's Healthy Sports Obsession. I'm Will Hubner here with Mark Mashashik. We're going to be going over Andrew Luck's retirement. Going to go over general information of what we've been seeing in the drafts, kind of where people are going, looking at who's rising, who's falling. And then we're going to be answering viewer questions regarding the ACL and a couple of specific NFL players that you might be drafting. So starting off, we have big news from the podcast. We are partnering with Glory Days Alexandria. The location is on Duke Street in Alexandria, Virginia. We will be there weeks 1, 3, and 4, which is September 8th, 22nd, and 29th. We will be there from 11:30 to 12:30 answering any health-related questions, any fantasy football-related questions.
Yeah, you got a bad back and some fantasy football problems. You get a 2-for-1 on it. It's a great deal.
Right. So if you want to have fun, kind of set your fantasy lineup right before game time, come with us. We'll help you.
Glory Days Alexandria, come on in. You get some good food, watch some football, pick our brains if you want.
Sounds good. All right, so let's start with Andrew Luck retiring.
Yes.
So 7th season in the NFL.
Yes.
He decides to retire kind of abruptly.
Age 29.
No sign of it coming in the preseason, which is kind of unprecedented.
Right.
So what are your initial thoughts on Andrew Luck retiring?
Yeah, so I felt like, I'm embarrassed to say for something that shouldn't affect my life, I felt an effect from this. I went through the entire grief process. I was angry. I got sad. I accepted it. Just as a huge football fan, he was one of my favorite players to watch. I think as of today, he's one of the best players in the NFL right now, and he's retiring. But he said he's emotionally exhausted, and I certainly can understand for you made your money. You've got all these other things you want to do with your life, and you're tired of being sick, you're tired of being hurt. You step away from the game. So I have respect for Luck and wish him well. But I'm honestly, as a fan, I'm bummed. I'm not even a Colts fan. I'm bummed out that we're not gonna see the 30s for Andrew Luck. You know, he's never had his Andrew Luck great season moment yet, and I think that was coming, and we're not gonna get it. So as a fan, I'm bummed out.
Yeah, I agree. It's extremely disappointing that, like you said, one of the top talents choosing to retire early.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Kind of leaving at his prime in a way.
I mean, the big difference is Calvin retired at the end of the year, and I would not have booed Andrew Luck. I don't think that's the right thing to do, and I don't think he needs that. But the unusual thing is Colts fans feel a little betrayed that he's doing it in week 3 of the preseason, where Calvin was like, hey guys, I'm telling you right now, I don't want to play anymore. I'm done. It's the end of the season. You got time to go out and get another receiver. I think Jacoby Brissett's a heck of a backup, but from a standpoint of the fans, I could see. I think if this happened 15 years ago, I think social media has people, we want to support him, and I do support him, but he's kind of leaving his team out to dry a little bit.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different take. I think, first of all, I think every person should be able to choose whatever they want to do in life. I don't think you shouldn't have to play in the NFL because you have such a great talent. I do think there's a lot of injury history that is driving this decision. I don't think it's an issue of him choosing not to play.
Sure.
I think there's he's been going through this rehab process, and I think there's some issues that we want to go through. But let's talk about his injury history.
Yeah, let's go through it.
So 2015, I had a couple things going on. So he had a sprained shoulder, and he had a lacerated kidney. Mm-hmm. The quotes were, calls him to pee blood. It was a big deal. He missed 9 games that year. But the one we want to talk about is the sprained shoulder. So he sprained his shoulder week 3 against the Titans. Didn't come out of the game, finished the game through 2 touchdowns later in that same game. But ever since then, it just hasn't been quite right. He got imaging. They said there's no structural damage to the shoulder. Basically, we're not sure why you're still having pain.
Yeah. He
decided to sit the next 2 games out, and then he continued playing. After that was when he got the lacerated kidney.
Right.
So he did miss a bunch of games. But the following year played
fantastic.
15 games. Yeah, played great. Made
right. But he's saying that the shoulder's been bothering him all along since that initial injury.
Right. And that led to him eventually getting the labral repair, the surgery.
The labral repair, and that led into 2 years off from football with the labral repair, which is pretty unusual from what we see. We usually think whenever you got to get it. For some positions, they say they think you can come back during the same season. For a quarterback, you wouldn't think that, but to miss 2 full seasons is unusual.
Right. And it's not unusual for a football player, any overhead athletes, pitchers, quarterbacks to have labral tears in the shoulder.
That's what I'm saying. It's so common that I don't know if he was having shoulder pain, that maybe that labrum repair, the reason he was still having pain and missed an entire other season is maybe the labral repair, while it was dysfunctional, and it's not that it didn't require surgery, but maybe the pain was being driven by something else.
Correct. And just for some reference for the viewers, majority of baseball pitchers, professional baseball pitchers, have labral tears.
We don't study football quarterbacks as much in those numbers, but I would assume that it's probably similar.
Right, and most pitchers are told by surgeons, if you can still throw, if you can tolerate pain, and a lot of them are asymptomatic, let's say, but if you can still throw, we're not going to repair that labrum because the post-op outcomes are not very good. Not many return.
Right.
Now we do have Ryu. We're getting a little bit off topic, but Ryu did come back and play well. But going back to it, most quarterbacks have labral tears.
So this brings me into where we sort of differ on the topic of Andrew Luck. We both said we respect him as a person, but you're saying you think he still wants to play and loves the game of football. I would differ and say it doesn't sound to me like this is a guy who loves football and wants to play. Or I think he may have loved football, but I don't think he loves it anymore, and I don't think he wants to play. I think that's why he's retiring.
Yeah. So I think we're touching on there's a little bit of mental health issues here, right? Like he is even said, he got quoted saying he is scared to return. He's scared that he's going to get hurt. He's scared of what could happen if he goes back out there.
I thought he said he's emotionally exhausted. Did you say he said he was afraid of playing football?
There's a quote saying, yes.
Afraid of playing football. So that sounds like someone who doesn't really want to play.
Right. So, but from that standpoint, I think, everybody's saying that, there's a calf strain. First of all, nobody knows how bad this calf strain is, right?
Or if it's really a calf strain.
Right. So the media...
It's an ankle now. It's not supposed to be... It's a calf, quotes calf, now quotes ankle.
Right. So it's hard to make judgments without knowing the full story, how bad it is. I think it's to the point where I physically don't think he can play pain-free right now. I think if he could, he would be out there right now.
I don't think any quarterback in the NFL physically plays pain-free. I think they all do. I think he's having pain and he doesn't want to play because of it. But I think when Tom Brady suits up, I think he gets pain every game. So it's I respect it. I mean, he's got his money. He can go travel the world like he said he wants to do and live his life. But
right. So we're talking back to, we did a podcast way back talking about just pain and perception of pain and how
pain science.
Pain works, right?
So it sounds like someone who's afraid of getting hurt. We know the connections between fear and pain. And we're saying that, the MRIs look good on the labrum. He might have some pain that's driven by the fact that he doesn't really want to be doing this, or he's afraid that it's going to break him down,
It's very interesting. So back in that original 2015, got the sprained shoulder. In 2017, when he had the labral repair, he was quoted as saying, this all started back in 2015.
Right.
So he kind of lingered on what
and now we had a calf strain in April that is lingered into September. That is the reason, well, not the exact reason, but the fact that things continue to linger in him is why he's retiring.
Right. So I guess the argument I'm making is saying that everybody experiences pain differently.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't discredit anybody's pain just because
This is our same pain science speech. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
All pain is real. If he's experiencing pain, it's there, and he just doesn't want to deal with it anymore. I mean, he doesn't want to have pain anymore. So I don't blame him. If my employer was going to pay me $28 million to not work this year, I wouldn't work.
See, I think that he's going to return. Not this year. I think he will return in the future.
His face when he's crying, he looked super serious. I think he's Stanford grad with an degree in architecture. I think he just knows he wants to do other things in life, and he's just only doing football. And he's like, man, I made my money. I'm ready to do the next thing. I think as a smart guy, I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah, I still think he really loves the game. I still think he wants to be out there.
If he really loved the game and he really wanted to be out there, why didn't he try to go out there?
He did try to go out there.
He did not. I watched him warm up the other night. He ran lateral drills. He jumped. He ran. He looks like he could try to play football, but he's choosing to not play football.
I think there's something. I think he testing warm-ups.
Yeah.
I think he looked good. He must have felt pain. It must have felt like something was not right. Something is going on in whatever the calf issue is.
We already discussed all players play with some level of pain, so it's still his choice that at this point he loves being not in pain more than he loves football. So I don't
which
think
is a serious issue.
Right, but I don't think that means he. How can you say he loves football?
So if he came out and said, physically there's an ACL tear, he can go out there and play, but it's a little bit higher risk. I would say that's fine. Shut him down for the year. He's experiencing pain, which we all know studies showing that if you have any anxiety, if you think you're going to get hurt, there's a much higher risk of injury.
I think just like the pain on semantics is so high, I think the definition of our word of love might be different on semantics. I'm sure there's things in your life that you love where you said, well, to keep doing this, you have to have a little pain. You'd be like, yeah, I love it. I'll keep doing it. He's saying no. He don't love it.
Yeah. I guess agree to disagree.
Semantics on words, but
I think if he could be out there, I think he would be out there.
I think if you cut Tom Brady's leg off, he would say, "Is there a way I can play football?" I think that would be his first thing. We got to cut your leg off. Okay, well, how am I going to play football? Can we figure out how to play football? He's not going to say like, "Well, I'm worried it hurts." He loves football. It's all he knows how to do. He's doing it until he's 42 years old. If he was 29 and wanted to retire, he just loves it more.
I guess there's a difference between loving it and being smart. I think if we're going to blame anybody, I think we both agree on this.
I think doing what you love is smart. I think they're both doing what they love.
Mark, if for Colts fans to boo Andrew Luck, I think is ridiculous. If you're going to boo anybody,
it's wrong. Yeah, he's brought you a lot of
management, right? Like you haven't given him an offensive line. You've basically caused a lot of these beatings.
His offensive line, okay, that I disagree with. His offensive line is fantastic. It's one of the best in the NFL. His receivers are fantastic. It's just that it hasn't been. You're right, and that's been management's fault. Gregson ruined him by getting him beat to death. But the confusing thing about the retirement is it's finally fixed. This is the best Colts team he's ever been on. The offensive line is very, very good. The receivers are finally good. They used first and second round picks on linemen and receivers the past 2 years, and we finally got it. And his body's not right, and he's not happy, so he's going to go. But I said,
a little too late.
But you're saying you make the right decision versus or the smart one for your health or the right one. I think Tom Brady and Andrew Luck have both made the right decision. Tom Brady loves football. He should play football. Andrew Luck wants to do something else. He wants to travel the world. He should do that. Do what makes you happy.
But I think if you're just going that route, if there's a significant health concern, if there's a significant reason that you should not be playing football, and you choose not to play football, it's not because you don't love football. It's because there's a higher risk of not playing or of playing football than not playing football.
We all do that every day in our lives.
Yeah, but it's more significant than like, I may get a concussion or I may get a bruise, I may get hurt. It's more like he feels in his mind, which you can't discredit,
yes,
that he is not ready to play, and that if he does play, there's going to be a significant injury.
I agree.
Tom Brady, when he goes out there, I would imagine, I don't know, but I would guess that's the last thing in his head is injury. It's how am I going to beat this team?
Yes.
So many other things on his mind besides injury.
Giselle came out and gave out information that he's had concussions that he hasn't reported. So he cares about football more than his health. There's things I care about more than my health.
That's how you prioritize things.
I agree, but I think we're saying the same thing. We're just saying there's a different definition of love. Things that I love, I will put myself at risk for. He doesn't want to do that, and I respect that, but that means he doesn't love it.
I think there's different...
We're harping on the point. It's
yeah.
You think he loves football and just doesn't feel like playing. I don't think he loves it, so he doesn't feel like playing.
All right, agree to disagree. Comment. Send us an email. What do you think about Andrew Luck?
Does Andrew Luck love football? Let's get the feedback.
Easy. Facebook, email us, whatever you want to do. All right, so this is a big week for fantasy football drafts,
the biggest
right?
week of the year.
Not even mock drafts, real drafts.
Oh, yeah,
Everybody's
real drafts. Here we
drafting,
are. Finally, it's draft. We're in the heart of draft week, and fantasy football's taken off.
All right, so let's just talk about kind of what we've been seeing in the drafts, and I'll kind of bring up a few points and let you comment on them, and we'll discuss them, all right?
Beautiful.
So, just came out, Jerry Jones has said that it wouldn't be bad if Zeke was fresh for playoffs, talking about coming back in week 8, right? And they've already talked about, I think some reports came out today or yesterday that there's a good chance he's going to miss some games early on.
Yeah, there's been conflicting reports on both sides.
So how does that fall? If he's clearly the top 4 running back, but where do you
right? So now? Jerry is just saying that because he's playing politics with Zeke. They're both trying to get the upper hand of the better deal of this contract. They both really want him to be there week 1. And I think there's an okay chance that happens. So where do we draft him? It's interesting depending on your draft. So I'll tell you, I've drafted him twice, and or I've had position 4 twice, and I drafted him once and I didn't draft him once. And the reason for that was I took him in the league where it's a couple of my friends. I won the league last year, and I think I got a good chance if I can get Pollard late of keeping it together until he's healthy. So I thought, like, I think I can hold it together in this league anyway. I had another bigger league with a lot of heavy hitters in fantasy, and I stayed away from him because if he does hold out to week 9, I don't know if I can keep it together and make it to the playoffs still. So I think depending on your league, you can take him early if you feel like you can keep it together. It's not the same as the Lev Bell issue because he has to report by week 9, or this contract just rolls over the next year, and we're just in the same thing. So I'm pretty sure he has to play by week 9. I expect to see him before that. I feel if you want him, I think you should go get him. Opposed to Melvin Gordon, who is the same thing as Bell on the last year of franchise tag, they can hold out the whole year. I don't think Elliott it's in his best interest to do that.
Yeah, I still feel confident that they're going to come to some sort of agreement before week 1. I think it's worst case scenario, you're looking at maybe week 3 he comes back.
It's Wednesday the 28th at 6 o'clock right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the weekend of this preseason week 4. So feel good about it, but it's a risk.
Yep. But if you do draft Zeke, you definitely got to have some depth at running back to get you through maybe those first few weeks. Worst case scenario, first 8 weeks.
I mean, honestly, Tony Pollard, you got to start looking at him at like around 10, 11. Ideally, he's just a 75 to 80% of what Zeke is to fill in for you.
Yeah.
That's Zeke's backup, Tony Pollard.
All right, so let's talk about if you have any of the first 3 picks, you're pretty set, right? It's going to go either Barkley, McCaffrey, Kamara, one of those orders. Doesn't really matter.
In any order, I think you're good. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with any of those in any order.
So let's talk about you start getting mid to late rounds, right? Like the kind of this year, almost the dreaded 4 to 10, 5 to 10 drafts picks, right? And those getting put in those slots.
Right. You're talking in the first round.
In the first round, yes.
The slots, the 4 to 10, 4 to 12 slots.
Exactly. So if you get one of those spots, and generally speaking, most people take running backs round 1 unless you can get a top wide receiver.
Agreed, yeah.
So if you're looking at top running backs left, assuming that Saquon, McCaffrey, and Kamara are gone,
yep.
Zeke's risky, maybe you take him, maybe you don't.
Yep.
You got David Johnson up there.
Yep.
Would you take David Johnson over a top tier Devontae Adams?
No.
Hopkins?
No. Too much. There's way too much risk. The offensive line looks terrible. We're hoping Cliff Kingsbury's system's perfect and he catches a ton of passes. But I mean, it's not a good offensive line. I can see the argument. It wasn't a good offensive line last year. He still finished it at RB12. Just give me an elite receiver over him, though. I don't know. This thing could blow up. I think he could. He's very polarizing. If the offense works, he could be great. But I just feel risk for how bad. In the preseason, the offensive line actually looks worse than it did last year. It looks really bad. So I think this is very risky for a first-round pick right now.
So you would go, if you had the 5th pick, you're really thinking probably Hopkins or Adams.
Oh, yeah. Take at the 5th. I mean, PPR helps it, 0.5 PPR. If you're looking at no PPR drafts, I mean, this is still a risky guy because you're counting on a lot of these running backs in this round to get a lot of catches. Non-PPR, maybe you are looking at the next guy on the board, which is Nick Chubb. But I don't know what happens. There's this one thing in fantasy where you mock and you think you've got all the sleepers and you're like, I'll take Nick Chubb late round 2. And then all of a sudden, fantasy week and on the draft boards, he's listed as 4th on Yahoo last night. I'm like, where did that come from? So, with Hunt behind him, I'm not willing to take that there. That's a bit heavy for Johnson or Chubb. I'd take the sure thing in Hopkins. If he doesn't get hurt, he's going to be unbelievable. With Deshaun growing, they could potentially break fantasy.
Yeah. I've been seeing people take James Conner pretty earlier than what I would project him to go at. Yep. But thinking of it, there's not that many sure bets at running back. Le'Veon Bell, I would feel more comfortable taking a James Conner over Le'Veon Bell, personally.
I would too.
But I'm just saying, so a lot of people are drafting Bell 6, 7 in that kind
These are all risky. I mean, so the Conner has been falling because Tomlin said that they're going to use Jalen Samuel. I don't buy it. Steelers never do that, and I don't really think I think they'll get Samuel on the field, but I don't think it takes a lot away from Conner. I like Conner. He's a great value. I'm getting him in some leagues in like late round 2. I think I got him in early round 3 on one. Yeah, Conner, great value. I like elite receivers over these guys still, particularly if you're in a PPR. Just give me Hopkins, Adams. These guys are going to catch 110 balls.
Yeah, let's go tight end for a little bit. So outside of Travis Kelce and George Kittle, and we'll even throw Zach Ertz in there. When should we be looking at taking a tight end? What round should we be thinking, okay, it's time to start going after a tight end, and really who should I be targeting outside of those top three?
Yeah, so the next three would be Howard, Ingram, and
O.J. Howard.
O.J. Howard,
Yep.
Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry. And you're looking at them. You could, if you're dying for them, you're looking at them at 5. You're looking at them at 6. You can hope they're falling to you at 7.
So in that sense, so say you don't want to take a risk on a tight end, you hold out on the first 3, you go running backs, wide receivers, maybe even a quarterback. Is it worth it to take the next best tight end, those 3 guys you just mentioned? Do I want to take O.J. Howard or keep going and I'm just going to get another tight end later that may produce similar to O.J. Howard? Or is that next tier that you just talked about, Howard, Ingram, and who's the other one you put?
Howard, Ingram, and Hunter Henry for the Chargers.
Henry. Are those 3 a significant tier above the rest of the guys?
Most years, I think it's safe to wait at tight end until it's almost completely gone. This year, I do like these guys. So I'm really trying, if I don't take a tight end early, I'm really trying to get one of those 3 guys on my team. And if I miss, I don't like the in-between of Njoku. I don't love Jared Cook. If you like him, you can take him at value. But usually if I'm missing on those 3 guys, I'm just waiting to the end of the draft, and I'm taking a flyer.
Well, a guy you talk about a lot is Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews, we were talking about that for my Dynasty League, though. He's 23. That's why I loved him for Dynasty. But as a flyer, for even for a redraft this year, I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be a great value in, take him pretty late, though. Him, Darren Waller for the Raiders would be good late. Hawkinson, the rookie, looks good, too. I love Andrews. I think he's a pass receiver. I think he's going to catch passes.
Yeah. See, I'm a Ravens fan. Out of the 2 of them, I would take Hayden Hurst before I take Andrews.
From a fantasy standpoint, I think you're crazy.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a different,
I'm going to burn
healthy Hayden Hurst.
Well, can we do a board bet on this? More fantasy points. Hayden, you get Hurst, I get Andrews.
Yeah.
16 games. Whoever gets more, winner gets.
Are we talking every game that each of them play?
You want to do a bet a week on the 2?
No, I'm saying if somebody gets hurt for a significant part of the season, does it still count as the other guy?
Average fantasy points, you're saying? Because my guy's the healthier guy. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Points per game.
Sounds good.
Good.
All right, so let's go. Quarterback, everybody's talking about Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Where is he going? I've seen people take him in the first round, which I personally think is crazy.
Yep. I'm seeing Mahomes going first and second round. I think his value is in the third round. One thing you got to look for is if you've got a 6-point for passing touchdown league, then it obviously boosts his value. If you think he's going to repeat and do 5,050 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, and you got a 6-point for touchdown league, he's worth a first-round pick. But there probably will be some regression. I took him in a league last night in the third round. I think I don't like taking quarterbacks early. That's my shtick. But, third round is just too good a value. He's usually going second round.
When do you take Deshaun Watson, assuming he's the number 2 guy?
Yeah, I would drop him back 2 rounds. I would feel comfortable taking Watson in the 5th, only if there was it's that spot in the draft where you don't have a receiver or running back that you really want to jump on. It's the guy I wanted got taken. Okay, I'll take Watson in the 5th. Yeah. And you're not going to get him much later than that.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. So let's talk about, with all the recent news that's been coming out, talk about some guys that are rising up the draft boards.
Sure.
And then we'll talk about some guys that might be falling a little bit.
Yep.
So guys that are rising. So Lamar Miller towards ACL for the Texans.
Yep.
So now you got Duke Johnson there.
People love Duke. I think Duke is a great player, but I just don't see the Texans using him in the same way that you would use just a bell cow back. I think this is a huge boost to Duke, but don't go and take him in the third round because I think you're going to see Carlos Hyde get cut, and he's going to be a Houston Texan.
Yeah, so that's one thing you keep saying is that you think Carlos Hyde's going to get cut from the Chiefs.
I think
the Texans are going to pick him up.
I think that's going to happen.
I think that's possible. I think Jay Ajayi's the guy that makes the most sense right now. He's available. Still a little bit of obviously an injury risk, and he's a little bit older. I also think Melvin Gordon could be a possibility. The Texans typically haven't shown in the past that they're willing to pay top dollar for a running back.
So I don't see why they'd go get Gordon. I can't see Gordon.
This could be they have a great team. I think they have a good defense, and they have a great offense that could be they just lost their what they consider their star running back. I think you got.
We've been through it
somebody.
before. I don't think they're going to pay $15 million for a running back. I think LaShawn McCoy makes more sense if they just get him at his. He's getting overpaid this year, like $8 million, but I still think that makes more sense.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about so Josh Gordon reinstated to the NFL.
He's been rising up boards.
Where have you seen him gone?
I mean, he's rising fast. I think he's a great value at 6 or 7. I've seen him go like 4. I mean, he was good last year, but remember, he didn't have Edelman there. There's a lot of receiving options there. I think he's a solid wide receiver 2 if he stays with the team for the year.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go David Montgomery, some running backs.
David Montgomery's going way up. He's a 4th-round pick right now. I like him, but when you see these guys just fly up the board, we don't know. I mean, we haven't really seen it yet. There were times he plotted a little in college. I hope I'm right on saying that, and he doesn't just look like the greatest thing in the world when we see him in the NFL. But Tariq Cohen's still a part of this team, and they like to throw the ball to the back. So, man, he could be a home run, but I don't want to take him that high.
Yeah, they added Mike Davis, too. Probably not going to cut into too much, but a little bit.
No, he could. I mean, they paid the man. They paid Mike Davis. I think he's getting $6 million for the year, so that's a risky one to go for round 4.
Yeah, I think
it's the same thing with this draft. All the sleepers, like, I love David Montgomery. Get him in the 7th round, and now the sleeper talk comes in, and they all are getting jammed up to the front. So he was a sleeper. Now he's a risk because he's going so high.
Right. Let's talk about guys who are falling. So clearly, let's go back to Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
So now, what do you think of Marlon Mack versus Hines? What do you think of T.Y. Hilton?
Kills Hines. Mack has some value because they're going to run the ball some more. So if you're just seeing him fall off the draft boards, you can take him.
But Hines is more of their 3rd down back.
Yeah, I think they're going to run the ball more now. Because
even though you still think they'll be winning games and be up where they can afford to run the ball?
Not necessarily. It doesn't change the defense. The defense is still turning around and being decent, but I just think the idea is to start the game. They're not going to come out running and gunning like they would with Luck. I think he'll see some more early down work.
So expect more lower scoring games in Colts games.
Oh, I would say so. They're going to slow the whole offense down. They're going to run, I don't know, probably 5, 6, 7 less plays a game.
Which, in fantasy, that's terrible.
Yeah, it hurts him. So Hilton is no longer wide receiver 1. He's probably in the Gordon range. He's a good wide receiver 2 still. Jacoby Brissett.
If getting Hilton in the 5th or 6th round, you're talking about right now.
6th or 7th.
He's going earlier than that.
Yeah, I wouldn't take him.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going from Andrew Luck. You're going from the guy I think's the best quarterback in the NFL. When he played with Brissett 2 years ago, when Luck was out with the labrum, he had 900 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's a wide receiver 3, 4. But I think Brissett has gotten better. So I would say I think he's good for 1,050, 1,100 yards and his standard 5 or 6 touchdowns.
Do you throw a flyer on Brissett?
Not for me. In a dynasty league, I do believe in him. I think he could be something. People are saying, like, don't forget about this team. Brissett's really good. I think he is good, but
Is Harris Campbell worth a flyer? Or now he's not even touch him.
To me, he was a flyer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so now it's
not even your last pick.
To me, he's an early round pickup if he looks like he's catching touchdowns.
Okay, let's go to Antonio Brown. So he's coming back. He actually ended up with the helmet deal after all this.
That's funny.
Complaining, I guess I would say. Mm-hmm. But where's he going?
Tony is going. I mean, it's perplexing. He was pretty high. The foot thing happened. The helmet thing happened. He fell really fast. He went from like round 2 to round 4, and now he's creeped back up to 3. It's weird how crazy he is. He seems like Mike Tyson insane. You know, is he completely off the rocker? We've got feet things. We've got and he's got him bantering back and forth with Ben Roethlisberger on Twitter saying we're not friends. I think he's
seems distracted.
Dude, I think he's in the deep end. I think he's I don't know. I don't think he's quite woohoo all there. I think he's whoa, what's going on here?
But he loves football so much that he continues to play.
Absolutely. Because he burned his feet. He's still going to play football. It hurt.
Yeah. So where are you seeing him going?
Oh, yeah. So he was going to, fell to 4, moved up to 3.
Okay. Would you want to take him? Would you rather have T.Y. Hilton or Antonio Brown?
I think it's risky, but I'd take Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
But not, I would wait. I probably want him round 4, way later than he's going. Maybe late 3 if it's a deep league.
Okay. So we talked about Ezekiel Elliott. we both think he's going to be back sooner than
We do.
the 8 weeks for sure.
I'm sure we said it about Le'Veon Bell last year, though.
Let's talk about Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
What do you?
He can sit, so I think he sits the year unless he gets traded, because I don't think they're going to pay him.
I agree. I think he's out the whole year.
Unless
he gets traded.
He's going as a third and fourth round pick. I don't want him at all. I mean, I'll take him as a late round flyer at this point because I honestly don't think he's going to play.
Right, I agree. So where does that put Ekeler and Jackson?
High.
How high?
Round 5 on Ekeler.
Really?
Because Eckler still has value if Gordon comes back, so he's more valuable than Jackson. But they're going to probably split the work. Yeah, I want both of them. Eckler's, again, like I said, we keep repeating the same thing. He's just been flying up so high. He was like one of my sleepers. I was drafting him in every draft in the 7th, and now today I saw him go in the 5th, and I was like, oh, crap, forget that.
He might be somebody willing to, if you're going to take a risk, if you think he's your guy, take him early, right?
Yeah, I mean, the more they creep up, the more nervous I get. 5's pretty rich for Eckler. I guess he's going to be,
he's a number one back.
But he's going to split. It's going to be 50-50 between him and Jackson. If Gordon's there, it's like...
I think he's the better guy to have, though.
Well, because he catches the ball, yes.
I think overall he's a better back.
You're saying he's a better guy. Well, he's going as a 4th-round pick right now, and Justin Jackson's going as an 11th-round pick. So, yeah, fantasy football...
Well, then you get value with Jackson.
Yeah, so you can get some value on Jackson.
Yeah, okay. But both in agreement. Zeke's going to be back early. Melvin Gordon, don't count on it.
Well, I wouldn't be completely shocked if we were exactly oppositely wrong, but yes, that's what we believe.
That's what we think. All right, so let's go to some audience questions.
Audience question. Gotcha.
Yep, so this one comes from Hubert from Fairfax, Virginia.
All right.
So it's a little bit of a long question. It's actually multiple parts to it. So I'll say the whole thing and then we'll break it down. So I hear some people writing off Dalvin Cook's hamstring injury as no big deal because that is a common occurrence after an ACL tear. Is there any truth to that? They say it is unfair to label Cook as injury prone because the ACL tear can happen to anyone, might be a fluke. And then the hamstring is related to the ACL tear, so it could all just be one giant fluke. What is your opinion on that and Dalvin Cook's risk himself and players like him in similar re-injury instances? Second part. Also, before the 2015 draft, Todd Gurley was coming off an ACL surgery, but was still drafted really high. I remember reading a quote his surgeon made. It was something along the lines of, Todd's knee is not only 100% healed, it is even stronger than it was before the injury. I would put my career reputation on that. Is there truth to that? Could a skilled surgeon actually fix up a body part or tie up a tendon following an injury to actually be stronger than it was before?
Okay, long question.
So let's go to Dalvin Cook first.
Yeah.
So one, people are writing off Dalvin Cook's hamstring injury as no big deal because it's a common occurrence after an ACL tear. Is that commonly what we see?
So this is personal experience. I wouldn't say it's specific to hamstring, but I look at the entire body, and we'll in this case we'll say the knee as a linked chain. If there is a weak link in the chain, there is a risk for injury at a multiple other muscles. For me, I would say it's not specific to hamstring, but yes, if you come back from an ACL and you're not healthy, we do see other things pop up, like potentially a hamstring strain. I wouldn't say directly related to the ACL, but anything being wrong in the system could relate particularly possibly to a hamstring injury.
Definitely. Important to note for Dalvin Cook, so it's his right ACL, it's his left hamstring that's been lingering him last year. So opposite side. So like you're saying, if there's a weak link in the right side, there could be some compensation side. You're seeing things on the left side. I personally see things on the same side just as often as I see on the other side.
You're right. And we're drawing it out and stretching it a little bit there. But yeah, I think any weak link in the chain can possibly cause an injury. But usually we see more of the opposite, which we were talking about with Clay back in the championship, is the hamstring being injured, protecting forward translation on the tibia. We're talking a lot of PT terms now, but basically the lower leg bone moving forward because the hamstring's weak, putting more stress on the ACL. I see more the opposite way. Hamstring potentially leading the ACL more than ACL's particularly leading the hamstring.
Right. So obviously I saw this question. I got to research what his past injuries have been, right? Is there something going on?
Right.
So it could be nothing, but back in 2015, he had an ankle sprain to his right ankle. Who knows? He's a running back. That's not uncommon. But could there possibly be something going on with the alignment back in college, that led to now weak link and now more stress on that knee going into a little bit of valgus, or that knee going inward, causing more stress to that ACL? It's hard to tell.
What wasn't it? Did he ask about our opinions on Dalvin this year? No, that's okay.
Is it unfair to label Cook as injury prone? I would say no. there's reason for him to be injured. Like, it's not just a fluke.
We need to come up with a definition of like, we need an algorithm maybe we can come up with this, an algorithm of what someone is injury prone and what someone's not. Most ACL tears, on their own, I say like, this is fluky. I don't hit injury prone on that. He played with the hamstring last year.
He played one game.
I think he needs one more. He played more than one game last year, right?
He came back from the injury, re-injured it that same game, missed another 4 games.
And then came back again. And he had a couple good games last year. I think he needs one more to be injury prone for me.
What I really don't like is, so I personally do think he is a risky player this year. I don't, not even necessarily this year. I think there are some issues that are concerning that this could be, he could miss some serious time, whether it's this year, next year, whenever it is, just because of ACL tear, hamstring, even the ankle sprain. It all leads me to think something's going on lower leg-wise. He's in a position where he has to cut all the time. He's got that ACL injury already, which we can kind of talk about the next part of the question of the...
It's been 2 years since his ACL, 1 year since his hamstring. Did you watch him play this weekend?
That's what I'm saying. The week 1 game...
85-yard touchdown. He got 2 carries.
So now everybody says, oh, this guy's good to go. I'm going to draft him super high. If we were talking fantasy, that plays zero role in where I'm going to draft him. Oh, yeah, he had a great run. I'm not concerned, oh, he's back to 100% healthy. He's good to go. He probably is healthy, but I still think there's serious injury risk.
Soft tissue strains in general make me worry more about guys drafting from an injury-prone standpoint. So there was a hamstring last year, but he does not have a history of hamstrings. He doesn't have a history of soft tissue. He's had one soft tissue injury.
Hamstring started after the ACL, though.
I understand that. I don't see... Literally, he's been rehabbing 1 year since a hamstring strain. If the hamstring strain is in isolation, he doesn't have other soft tissue stuff going on, I think that is a very good amount of rehab time.
Yeah, we'll see. I would be nervous, especially in something like a dynasty league, to take Dalvin Cook very high.
The nerves is potential injury. You just haven't seen him be fully healthy in the NFL. It's his 3rd year. I'm taking him because the Vikings are fully invested. They believe in it, and they want to run the ball, and he looks good. I like Dalvin Cook. There's some risk, but I mean, I like that we go back and look at his college, and he was healthy there. I mean, Fournette, this guy in a similar position, injured in college too, makes me a little more nervous. I like Dalvin Cook. He's had one major soft tissue injury we know of. That's what scares me. ACL doesn't really make me nervous at all, but they can be fluky. I'm worried about, is he going to have a hamstring or a quad or a calf this year? But I like him. I like him.
Yeah, I would be nervous, not even from the sense of a mechanical sense, like where his biomechanics are when his foot lands, where's the foot position, where's the knee position, what's happening when he cuts, all those things. I don't know. I haven't analyzed enough Dalvin Cook tape to know that, but just based on the past injuries and kind of what I've seen with other athletes, I would be very, very concerned. I'm sure he's getting great rehab. I'm sure he's going to look great beginning of the season, but I do think there's injury risk. But we'll see. Nobody knows for sure if anybody's going to get hurt.
Sure. All NFL running backs have massive injury risk.
Right, which is why they don't get paid.
Right.
Which makes no sense. So let's go back to Todd Gurley. Let's go back to the ACL injury. So he's drafted really high. Remember reading a surgeon saying that it's not only 100% heal, it's even stronger than it was before the injury. I'd put my career reputation on that.
He came through. It didn't tear again, but now he's knee arthritis, which is a side effect of potentially tearing your ACL puts you at higher risk for knee arthritis. Having surgery doesn't really reduce that risk very much.
So having an ACL surgery or repair, right? So we're not sure. It's very hard to find specific details on which grafts were used in the surgery, especially for professional athlete.
Right.
So the two common ones are the hamstring graft and the BTB, or the bone patellar graft, right?
This is the middle tendon. This is the tendon under your kneecap, or a piece of the muscle in the back of your leg, your hamstring.
Right. So we don't know which one he had for that. But can a graft that you're using to put into the knee to turn into that ligament and kind of work in, can that be stronger than the original ACL itself?
I think the answer is that is possible. I think the goal of the surgeon is to get it stronger, or at least as strong as as it was before. But there's a lot of factors that go into it. The tissue health that they're harvesting, the skill of the surgeon, and the health of that person to heal. I think just when we talk healing with anything else, if healing is hard for you to think about just like a cut on your skin. People heal at different rates. and the quality of that tensibility of that skin might be different from a little cut. So I'd say the majority of people probably get back to about 100%. I think people in
Professional athletes.
I think of professional athletes having the greatest surgeons available to them, having the greatest treatments available to them, and knowing that they are in pretty good health, their grafts are it's probably accurate. I bet a portion of theirs are stronger than they were before.
Right, but if you're thinking about a professional athlete, you're thinking about Dalvin Cook's rehab versus the guy who just tore his ACL at the basketball rec center.
You got to imagine that
the rehab's significantly different.
The rehab's different, and the tissue, his hamstring is going to be better tissue than a 45-year-old weekend warrior. It's going to be
Right. So with the hamstring graft, they'll often kind of roll it on top of each other. They'll do this wrapping technique where they kind of
fold it over 4 times.
Yeah,
Take a long piece of hamstring tendon, fold it over 4 times, and you suture that and into the graft position.
And then talk to us a little bit about kind of the vascularity of what occurs with that.
Right. So the healing process for the reason from PT that we have to protect it for so long is because when they sutured in there, it's super strong. It just came from your hamstring or your patella. Very, very dense tissue. But that tissue was vascularized. Your vascular system integrated that to keep that tissue healthy. So while it is working, your body is working to revascularize that tissue, those cells are you're having some die-off on those cells. And when it gets revascularized, new cells come in to provide strength to the hamstring. So at 4 to 8 weeks, we're seeing the hamstring strength really start to drop down, and it's not till 3 months that we start to see it start to come back again. And if we're looking at, there's a lot of different numbers on this. If we're looking at when does it reach close to 100%, my belief is it's probably not till a little bit after a year.
Right.
Maybe even 2 years in some studies. Some studies say 9 months. I think we agree that at least a year should be waited for it to be considered to be able to be the strength. So you could be as strong as you think you are in the world. You could have 10 out of 10 strength in your quad, but the graft still, it's just a normal healing phase. It takes time for it to heal.
Right, and I think that's where some of the, Adrian Peterson came back, 7 months or so?
We calculated that. It was really closer to 9, but...
But anyways, before that 1 year mark that we're talking about, but people think that just because somebody looks so strong, maybe they have massive quads, you're thinking there's no way this guy could get hurt. It's basically just healing time.
It's healing time.
You can't really.
So the graft is weak. The graft is weak, but we also have to talk about proprioception of the knee. So the ACL, your body has a way to have proprioception to stop your tibia or lower leg moving forward.
So what is proprioception?
Proprioception is your awareness of your body in space. So I know if I lift my right hand, my brain knows that my right hand is up at the right. When you have a surgery or major trauma, that process is disrupted. So you have to restore proprioception through motor control training, and every tissue in your body has it's not just my hand, it's the tendons in my hand, it's the bones in my hand have a degree of proprioception and understanding of where they are in space. So when you're putting a new body part in, you have to reintegrate that proprioception. And how long does that take? I think that's more up for question. Does 2 years after, do you have the same level of awareness of your knee moving in a certain position as you did before? Really, if it's someone who had an ACL tear, we want it to be better than before because it wasn't good enough to prevent their ACL tear in the first place.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, it can be a very, very long process. If you don't have great motor control, you're at higher risk for injury.
Yeah, I was reading some information. They were talking about stress for strain, right? So they're saying like if you stress a tendon, you put the new tendon in and you pull on it as hard as you can, how much stress, how many newtons of force can it take before it truly rips?
Sure.
And they were saying that with the new graft and everything like that, the amount of stress it could take was the same, if not even a little bit more. They were saying that they strain kind of how much force it takes before that ligament becomes lax or becomes a little bit looser than the original graft, kind of the stiffness of it.
Yeah.
They say that happens much quicker. So even though it's not fully tearing, you may have a little bit of laxing in that knee, which we know sets you up for potential hamstring injuries, knee injuries.
It's a weak link in the chain.
It's a weak link in the chain, and then you just got to wait to see what breaks down.
The angle that the ACL is inserted at, it shouldn't be straight up and down. The surgery comes in and it puts it at an angle so that the stress and strain you can have it gives the ACL more room to give a little bit, get better end feel on the joint, maintain normal mobility, and restore motor control and proprioception. So that angle is really important.
Definitely. I think this is what makes fantasy football so much fun, is that you don't really know the right answer, right? Is Dalvin Cook going to get injured? I don't know. Hopefully not. I would say he has more risk than some of the other running backs that I would take. I would much rather have a James Conner than a Dalvin Cook, in my personal opinion, from missing a time period.
Yeah.
But it's whatever you want to do.
They're right there together for me. And I think injury risk...
Everybody has injury risk.
Connor's been hurt a lot, too. It's the NFL running backs. That's why they're rotating them now. They have all got injury risk. So I'm on the Cook bandwagon. You're off. Going to give me top 10 running back?
I need value. If I can get him in maybe, I don't know, 4th or 5th round, I'd love him.
So then you're talking about top 20 running backs then. So I'll take the bet that he'll finish as a top 20 running back. And if he gets hurt, I still lose the bet.
We're betting, is he going to get injured or not? If he stays healthy, he's going to be a top 20 running back.
No, we're betting
He'll be a top 10 running back if he stays healthy.
We're not no, because that's not going to happen. Like we said with the Andrew Luck stuff earlier, nobody's fully healthy on the season. We're betting how healthy he's going to be. And I'm saying he's going to be healthy enough to be a top 20 back, and you're saying he's not.
I don't think I'd do top 20.
I'll do 10. I think he's going to be healthy.
All right, I'll say he will not be a top 10.
I'm saying he's top 10. I like these
so
board
we got
bets.
Hayden Hurst versus Mark Andrews.
And now we got Cook making it in top 10 fantasy, 0.5 PPR?
For the entire year.
0.5 PPR.
0.5 PPR.
Got it.
All right, good.
We're in.
All right. So, again, we're going to be at Glory Days September 8th, Alexandria location on Duke Street.
Yeah, come
on
on
We're going
by.
to be answering all fantasy football questions, all health-related questions. We'll help you set your lineup. Come out, have a few drinks, have some lunch.
Gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
We'll see you then.
All right, over and out.
Over and out.